Scott, we've foamed a lot here in WTF, but have we ever foamed anything that's fatty?
No, but today we're going to learn how to foam fats and learn a great baking additive with mono and diglycerides here on WTF. Hello and welcome to WTF, where we transform food here in the Modernist Pantry Test Kitchen. I'm Chef Scott Guerin.
And I'm Janie Wang, the owner of Modernist Pantry. Today, Scott and I are going to be talking about mono and diglyceride flakes, which you might have also heard of being referred to as glycerin flakes, but they are not to be confused with, traditional glycerin, the liquid stuff that basically goes into everything.
Yeah.
So, Scott, what is mono and diglyceride flakes, and what does it do?
So mono and diglyceride flakes are the fatty acid from palm oil. So it's derived from that, and it's used as an emulsifier mostly in baked goods, but also can do really cool things, which we're going to show today in a few demos of how to thicken oils and foam oils.
That's pretty cool. Definitely this demo looks delicious. I can't wait to get to it. But before we do, why don't we talk first a little bit more about, baking.
Yep.
So what exactly is the role of the flakes inside a baking application?
So the first thing before we hop into that is how to use it. And I just want to say, whenever you're baking with oil or cooking with oil and you want to add monoglyceride flakes, you always want to melt them in. And we're actually going to show that. If I could right now, I'm just going to show you how simple it is. I have oil at 140 degrees right now, and I have my monoglyceride flakes, and I'm just going to sprinkle them over the top. And I'm going to let them just melt in there on their own. I might bump it up just a little bit to 145 to make sure that oil's really up there. But that's all you have to do. Let it melt in there, and then you can go about your baking or whatever you're doing as normal. And
do you need a stick blender or anything?
Nope, you don't need to, because it's a fat, so it's just going to melt into another fat.
Okay.
So this is a lot because we're making an oil foam out of it. It has a demo. But if you're doing baking, you want a very small amount. So around 2% is the max. You can go all the way down to about 0.5%, depending on what you're making. But you want to add it in there, and what it does is that oil, or the monoglycerides, will grab the oil and it will help it adhere to the water. So it's a great emulsifier, especially in breads like brioche or high fat content breads, to keep them from staling.
Okay. Yeah, and it's kind of keeping on topic with this, one of the common questions that we get here is we have another product called glycerol monosterate, and people kind of think, are these the same things? Can I use them interchangeably?
You can't use them interchangeably, like one for one,
but
you can use them both in baking. The thing that makes them different is that monodiglycerides are fat soluble and glycerol monosterate is water soluble. So if you're doing something that has a high water content or high hydration bread, something like that, use glycerol monosterate. You get a better result. If you're using high fat content, I would suggest going with the monodiglycerides.
Okay, yeah, that's pretty good advice for people to get started.
Yep.
So, do we want to kind of keep going with this demo?
Yeah, just gonna let it go. I'm just gonna let it melt because this has to really come up in temperature. As you can see, it's starting to come and melt around the sides. But what I'm able to do, this is just going to be an olive oil foam.
Okay.
On the website, you can make something I like to call black olive foam. And I use oil-cured olives. I take them, I pit them, I dehydrate them for 24 hours. If you don't have a dehydrator, like we always say, just toss it in an oven on a pilot light or on a warming setting, and just let it go until they're crispy, so you can break them, they shatter. You're going to take your oil, you're going to blend in the black olives, just blend them on high for about 5 minutes, I believe, until it's completely smooth. Pass it through a super bag just to get out those little grits. And then you're going to heat it with your monodiglycerides. If I was to do that here right now, you're going to end up not seeing anything happen. So on the overhead, we can see they're really close. Yeah, it's jet black, and you can see right here when it cools, it makes almost like butter. So when the monodiglycerides are added to the oil in a ratio between 8 and 10%, you're going to get a really thick, dense oil product. So you can thicken oils, and you can make your own kind of like faux butters or flavored butters that you can spread. And this looks really beautiful on like a crostini too, especially when it starts to melt. You get that beautiful black sheen. It's gorgeous. And what that does is it acts just like you've ever put olive oil in the refrigerator and it kind of solidifies. It's the same component that's it's pulled out of palm oil that kind of helps, you know, the water and everything stick together, the emulsifier. It just helps like a thickener. So that's how it works. And as you can see, this is almost done right here. I'm going to bump it up just a little bit more. I think the oil itself is up to 140 yet because we turned it on right before we started filming.
Right.
Then I'm going to take it, I'm going to put it into this whipping siphon here. It's a branded whipping siphon. Look at that. You could own one if you go to modernistpantry.com. So I'm going to pour it in there. I'm going to charge it once with a nitrous oxide charger, and I'm going to put it into some ice water just to get it down in temperature, and then we'll do a little bit of our other demo. So as you can see, they're just about melted. So I'm going to pop this off, and I'm going to pour it right into my whipping siphon. And if you're at home, we have a funnel that you can use or whatnot.
I would use a funnel. I would not be free-handing the oil pouring.
Just a little bit of oil got away from me there. Not the end of the world. And as you can see right now, this is actually great. It's already starting to thicken up on the side.
Yep.
Right there.
Yeah, so it's not really running
working.
down that.
You'll be able to see it on the edge here. So I'm just going to put the top on. Always make sure that your gasket is on your the top of your whipping siphon, or else you're just going to waste the charger. I'm going to charge it. I just get rid of my spent charger. Put it back on, give it a quick shake, and then I'm going to submerge it in some ice water.
Okay.
So that's it. That's done right there.
Okay. And just a quick question about this butter. You mentioned passing it through a super bag. What micron would you recommend for something like this?
For something like that, probably about 250. Okay. If you go to 100 microns, it's going to take a while to get it through, and then that oil is going to start to set up. So right after it comes out of the pan, I would pass it right through and then into your whipping siphon, because as we can see, like right here, it's already setting up and it's still warm. It's not cold yet, and it was only at 140 degrees, so it's going to come down in temperature very quickly.
Yeah. So a while ago we did a WTF all about super bags and straining, and people really love their super bags. But people sometimes aren't sure like what size to get. So if you're trying to do something like this that you're going to pass through a funnel, you probably just want a small super bag for that.
And that's good. If you get all the little small ones, work really great for many different things. If you don't need a large one, if you're not making stocks all the time, the small and the medium work amazing for home use or small wares use. If you're just using something like this, you can pass it right through. It cleans unbelievably easy. The large ones are good for like stocks and items like that.
And if you're like, what's a super bag? Definitely check out WTF super bags.
So I'm gonna make a little hors d'oeuvre here while that chills.
Okay,
cool. And then once that chills, I'll show you how easy it is to just pump out the foam. So I have kind of a modern Nicoise salad here. So I have some tuna, a little bit of olive oil in there just to kind of keep it moist. Then we have some tomato. We have a little bit of green beans. I have some egg white right there. So kind of lighter, blander flavors, because we are adding something that has a lot of flavor in the olive and a lot of salt in the olive itself, especially those oil-cured olives. They're extremely salty. So I'm just going to put a little bit on my serving vessel here.
Oh, I thought those were scallions or green beans.
Yep, little green beans, sliced extremely thin, just kind of done in a different way. Nothing too fancy, nothing that people can't do at home. A little bit of egg white. You can pop the egg yolk in there too, but I think we get enough fat from the oil foam that we're going to be putting on top. Now, the best part is if I were to cool this, if I chilled this all the way down in the refrigerator, I could cannelle it and put it right on top. And if you don't have the ability to do that, or you just don't know how to do it, then I would suggest just pop it into a whipping siphon, and then you could put a little bit right on top.
And that's really beautiful. And I think we haven't mentioned kind of, what's so special about monodiglyceride's ability to foam a fat, because we also have a WTF all about foaming where we cover tons of different foaming agents. So people might be thinking, well, can I use lecithin? Can I use foam magic to do this?
So yeah, this is a fat. So the only way you're going to be able to foam fat is to use monodiglycerides. It's the only way that you're going to even be able to thicken fat without adding other fats to it, whatnot. So this is really great, and people have been asking since, because we did mention it in that episode. And people have been asking. It's very simple. We can see it right now. I already made it. I don't have to add any extra ingredients. It's just one ingredient, and I can do an abundance of things. So I'm just going to finish these off really quick.
Okay, but we can't like use the monodiglyceride foam with a magic hair maker or a magic wand or anything like that, right?
No, this is at this point is too thick to be able to do anything. It's just pretty much just mixing at that point.
Okay.
Because I could whip this with a like a hand blender or even an immersion blender, and it's not going to do anything. It's just kind of spray it anywhere. So I really need to get the air into there using the
it has like a
whipping
very
siphon.
Moussey
Yeah,
texture
it
now.
almost looks like chocolate mousse. I had 2 containers in there. One was chocolate and one was this, and I took out the chocolate first. I didn't look at the label, so.
It'll be amazing. We're just like,
yeah. Yeah, and a little something if you want to garnish with any other, components that you feel fit that go on a Nicoise salad, or add any other flavor. We made an amazing peanut butter foam out of this. I've wanted to make a cookie butter foam out of it too. So you get all it looks exactly like peanut butter. It's really aerated. It tastes like peanut butter. There's less intensity to the flavor, but and then I took our honey granules and I sprinkled that over the top, and it made a really nice little dessert.
I would put that over ice cream.
Yeah, there's a ton of different things you can do with this. So I'm going to move this one over here, and we should be able to have our olive oil foam finished up. Let me give it a good pop. See if it's completely set up. Yep.
Ooh.
We have beautiful olive oil foam.
You kind of see it's so buttery and fatty.
Yes,
and
yeah. So
looking.
if you are in a restaurant and you want to fill your ramekins with olive oil foam and pop them in the refrigerator, this foam will last so long, hours upon hours, especially if you cover it, because once that fat solidifies, it's going to stay really nice. So people can look at think it's butter, and then they get a completely different flavor.
You're right, yeah. That's a great idea.
Yeah.
Can we eat this?
Go right ahead.
Yes, I will eat it.
All right. One bite.
Really?
Everyone knows the rules. One bite.
This is an awfully big spoon for
Take
one
this
bite.
one. This one's a little smaller.
All right. I'm like, come on now, Scott. We did not plan this ahead
So
of
do
time.
you want to say bye before we fill our mouths completely? And
I
then,
know. It'd be like, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so this is mono and diglyceride flakes. It's wonderful for baking as long as you are melting it in a fat at 140 degrees. So once you do that, you can use it as a brilliant emulsifier in any baking application. You can foam it up like you saw us do here. These recipes will be on the blog. And then, definitely have fun with it. So.
Yeah, I would absolutely try different things, different types of fat, different types of solid fats. You can make any fat into a beautiful almost mousse or foam. So
from here in the Modernist Pantry Test Kitchen, I'm Janie Wang.
And I'm Scott Guerin.
Cheers.
We hope you enjoyed today's episode. And if you want these great recipes and these awesome ingredients, first you're going to have to like, comment, and subscribe. And then you're going to go to blog.modernistpantry.com where you can find those awesome recipes and you can ask a chef. And to get these great ingredients, go to modernistpantry.com. And until next time, we'll be here in the Modernist Pantry Test Kitchen helping you transform food.